Today I've noticed that in several places in Ballarat you can actually grab one of these scooters and scoot along the streets of Ballarat. This is pretty cool. It's by a company called Neuron. And I don't know anything about it because this is the first time that I've actually seen them in Ballarat. Apparently you've got to download some sort of an app. There's a little scanner, you got a little scanner thing on top there. It says scanning wide. I'm not going to try it. I mean, this is like a Europe thing, so it's. I was just saying to Bethany that it's getting like my parents' native country, Holland. You know, where you. It'd be great to see more of these, it really would. Very cool. So yeah, basically I think all you've got to do is just scan the app, and I'm not going to try it, and I've got no idea what a payment thing is. I suppose when you scan the app it sort of tells you a little bit more about it, and yeah, really cool. But just like those scooters, the paranormal investigating stuff is one long ride. You're constantly learning, you're constantly growing, you're constantly experimenting with all sorts of different stuff. There's a lot of technical gear out there that is used, and there's some great stuff out there. But when you sort of get started, you can use some of the basic stuff. You don't have to spend a fortune on gear, just use your basic stuff. But there is one thing that a lot of people forget, and that's that we as humans, we are incredible people. We have incredible abilities that people are not actually utilizing. And what I'm talking about here is when I first started, like about 48 years ago now, when I was around about 12 or 13, yeah, it's a long time ago, I started reading tarot cards and started developing my spiritual senses and all that sort of stuff. And in my teens, I started learning like a little bit about the mediumship and using your senses and all that sort of stuff, and I think that's an important thing in the paranormal field as well. Yeah, it's all well and good that you're able to use the gear and show people out there that, you know, this is happening, that's happening, you're communicating with spirit with the technical stuff, but what you don't see a lot of in paranormal vids, and what you don't see a lot of behind the scenes when we turn the cameras off, we use our skills, we use our abilities, we use our senses to communicate with spirit as well, and that's a big thing. And I think more of it should probably be shown, that you're doing this sort of stuff on paranormal vids, because it is part of spirit communication. You know, I grew up in a spiritual type of upbringing, I suppose, and I learnt the spiritual stuff and learnt how to communicate with spirit without using all the technical gear. And like I said before, it's great to be able to show people that you can communicate, you know, using K2s and cat balls and REM pods and, you know, necrophonics and all sorts of different things. That's great to show people, but there's that other side of it. What are you actually feeling? What are you sensing? You know, those things I think are important to show on YouTube vids as well, because we as humans, we have these sensing abilities that if you care to explore them and care to work with them, you tend to pick up some amazing things, and I think that should be shown more. You know, even though people can't see what you're seeing or can't feel what you're feeling, I think you should put it out there a little bit more too, because sometimes what you get, what you sense, is a lot more significant than working with paranormal gear, tech stuff. Yes, you can ask questions and, you know, get yes and no answers through K2s and cat balls and necrophonics, you know, and all that sort of stuff. You can get, you know, conversations going and all that sort of stuff. But what you feel and what you sense can often give you more of a story, give you more of a feeling of what the spirit is feeling, of what the spirit went through in their life. And I think that's an important part to sort of portray in paranormal investigating as well, because then once you get a sense of what the spirit is feeling, why they're sad, why they're emotional, why they're angry, you can get a sense of why they're still stuck where they are. You can get a sense of what you might be able to say or what you might be able to do for them to help them to move forward and release their anxieties, release their fears, or release the emotions, release the reasons why they are stuck still where they are. We as humans, we tend to try to help each other out in life. Why is it not that it's still not acceptable to help spirit? I've been doing that for 48 years. You know, it's part of how I grew, how I learnt about spirit and the spiritual realms. Spirit to me are people too. You know, they're only people without a body. And basically they've got their emotions, they've got their feelings, they've got their anxieties, they've got their fears, they've got something that is holding them back from crossing on and reuniting with their family on the other side, or heaven, or whatever it is that you want to call it. Just as you help out a friend who's in an emotional crisis or financial crisis or a life crisis, you know, it's the same thing that you can do with spirit too. You know, they're in some sort of a crisis situation, or they have some sort of a reason why they haven't moved forward. And it's your senses, it's your abilities that can draw out more of the story of what's going on with that spirit. And, you know, once you use your senses to feel what is actually going on, then you may be able to just naturally speak, as you do to another human, about how they're feeling, what's going on. You may be able to counsel them in some way, you know, give them some sort of advice, so that they can release their issues, so that they can cross over. The paranormal to us is not all about showing people that yes, you can communicate with spirit, yes, you've got this indication on a REM pod or a K2 or necrophonics or whatever. There's more to it than just showing the people out there in YouTube land that, you know, you can communicate with spirit. It's, to us, it's all about connecting to the spirit and trying to assist them in one way or another. Or if they don't need assistance, if they're happy being where they're happy being there, finding out why they're happy being there. Eventually all spirit will cross over in their own time. But there are some spirit who you can help cross over. And that's part of what we do, and we do that behind the camera most of the time. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, yep, it's all well and good. You can show people out there in YouTube land that you've got all this gear and everything, and it's fantastic. You can communicate with spirit, but it's also important for people to recognize, especially the paranormal investigators, that, you know, we as humans have got a lot more abilities, and if we start using our senses a lot more and showing that we're using our senses, and it doesn't matter if people out there in YouTube land can't see what you're feeling, they can't see what you're getting, they can't see what you're seeing. It doesn't matter, you know, it's just putting it out there. You're showing what you naturally feel and sense, and you're actually showing that, you know, yes, if you open up your senses, if people start opening up their senses a bit more, they can get more of a storyline about the spirit and why the spirit is there. Personally, I love seeing, you know, what people get on their necrophonics and K2s and, you know, REM pods and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's really fascinating. It's great. We use it all ourselves. We use that basically to show the public. But the whole thing is, it's great. I think it's really fascinating to see people who wander around and tell you what they're feeling and what they're sensing. And you know, it's like people might walk into a place, we do it all the time, and we'll feel a sense of depression, a sense of we get a sense of anxiety. You know, our moods change, our feelings change, and that's basically because spirit are throwing, you're picking up on the spirit, and they're throwing out their energy, and you're picking up on the spirit. You're feeling what they are feeling. It's not your moods are changing, it's not your emotions or what, you know, you're not feeling, it's not you being depressed, it's not you feeling emotional, you're picking it up from the spirit. And once you start realizing that those changes and those feelings, when you walk into a place, you might feel a sense of dread, you might feel a sense of depression, you might suddenly feel a bit of anxiety, you might feel a yucky feeling, or you might feel sick, you might start feeling sick in the stomach. But you know, it's not you that is sick in the stomach, it's not you feeling all those things. What you're feeling is from the spirit. And I think it's important to throw that out there in paranormal investigating as well, regardless of whether you know, people believe you or not. You know, yep, sure, people won't see that sort of thing, but I think it's great when you go out there and you tell people what you're feeling and what you're sensing, and in doing that, it might educate people to start using their senses a little bit more and telling people what they're feeling. It's all part of a spiritual thing. You know, it's like I grew up for many, many years. When I started paranormal investigating, all I had was a camera. That's all I had. Yeah, getting some orb shots, might get some spirit silhouette shots, shadow figures, all that sort of stuff on the cameras. That was the only thing that I could actually show. But I knew the spirit was there. I could feel the spirit. I could feel their emotions. I grew up in that context when I started working in the paranormal field. I grew up as a medium, working up as a medium. You know, that's the area I started working in. I learned that very quickly in my teens, you know, that to trust your senses and trust what you're feeling. And 99 times out of 100, it worked. you know, it was spot on. And in certain ways you get your verifications. You know, it's you know, you can look into the history of a place, or say for instance, if I was doing a, a murder investigation, and I picked up on the spirit, and I was feeling all this stuff, and the spirit was communicating to me, giving me the visions and giving me the words in my mind of what happened and where their body was. And when I passed that information on to the authorities, and they went to find, you know, to check, you know, the information that I gave them, and they found the body, there's your verification. You know, that's the spirit communicating to you, but yet nobody can see that spirit communicating to you. So it's a massive area that is not explored, or not shown. It's explored, but it's utilized by mediums and sensitives and all that sort of stuff, but it's not shown enough, I think, on paranormal vids. I think, you know, like, yes, in the vids it's important, well, it's good to incorporate all the tech gear so that people can see, yes, there are spirit around, but I think it's equally as important to portray what you're actually sensing and what you're feeling, and I'd love to see more of it. So there's a little bit of a thought for you. We as humans, we've got fantastic abilities to sense and feel things, and it's not shown enough, I think, on paranormal vids. And it, like I said before, it doesn't matter to me, it doesn't matter if people out there can't see it, if people try to debunk what you're saying, because you know what you're feeling, you know what you're getting, and you're the one that's working with the spirit, not the people out there in YouTube land. So you can portray what you're feeling. Don't feel that you can't do it because people will debunk you. Don't feel that you can't do it because people can't see what or feel what you're seeing and feeling. Just be you. Just put it out there, and then people start opening up their minds a little bit, hopefully, and start using their own senses. And like I said before, it's when you're working, doing paranormal investigating, or whether you're doing mediumship or doing whatever, you are the one that is working with spirit. You can use the tech gear, you can use the senses, and you can put it out there. So why not? Food for thought. Cheers.